David Hoffman, filmmaker, and I'm going to present in this clip you're about to see my doctor, Justin Major. So I'm a hypochondriac, and I'm an old guy who's scared. I'm scared about diseases, and I'm going for this big blood test several years ago, very expensive, all kinds of details I don't want to know anything about. And someone was supposed to call me after, and this guy calls, this doctor, Justin Major, and I'd never heard a doctor talk that way, and I never felt so comfortable. What made Justin so good was that he could synthesize Eastern medicine, Western medicine, lab tests, me as a human being. He looked at me as a person and used a lot of what he felt in his evaluation of my medical conditions. So, Justin, tell me, as you look at medicine, tell me where you came from, what kind of medicine you practiced when you first started, and what you see changing in the way you perceive it.
What's top of mind for me is that I actually came from no medicine. I grew up on the margins of not having adequate health care. And therefore, I didn't really have a lot of exposure to medicine, Western medicine, growing up. I had more of a spiritual, religious upbringing that, planted in me a lot of curiosity about health and disease and miracles and healing. And I think that all reflected my own inner deep sort of desire to seek out my own health and well-being and healing in my own life.
What kind of spiritual background are you talking about when you were growing up?
The religious and spiritual background in my home was Christianity. Particularly things like, the restoration of sight to a blind person. When I heard those stories, not only did that sort of was like, oh, wow, this was a, powerful divine being that was able to offer these, but also other important aspects. The fact that it could happen to somebody in their life, that they could be blind and then see. And then oftentimes Christ would comment to people that he had healed, your faith has made you whole. Your faith has made you whole. And that really captured my imagination, because it also sort of honored that person. They participated in their healing. It wasn't something that was just done to them. There was a receiving of healing, or a participation in one's healing. And I think that informed me on very deep levels before I had any idea or notion that I was going to pursue a career in medicine.
Looking at the whole person, I'd like you to describe in your own terms, based on things you're looking at, what are you seeing when you're looking at the whole person?
I sense the person. I sense the person. What is their energy? Are they an intense person that might be holding back energy? Are they a really apathetic person that has low energy and not a lot of fire in them? I look at their mannerisms. I hear their voice and what that voice might be telling me. I look at eye movements. There's these disciplines where you're listening to the story, but you're also observing and studying the storyteller themselves, and I'm not sure who. I think there's a physician, a famous physician named Dr. Peabody at Harvard, maybe the turn of the 19th century, if I'm recalling this correctly. And he has this statement that said that it's more important to know what type of person has the disease than what disease the person has.
Have you seen that evidenced in your own medical practice?
Healing is fundamental to our biological systems. It's been built in along the arc of humanity and life. And so, even if you were to cut yourself and need to have stitches to help stabilize that, your body still primarily heals that down onto the cellular level and knits it back together and forms the appropriate scars. The sutures are just there to help stabilize one's own healing process. And so that's what I really want to promote, is that you're able to heal, and I'm just a partner on your journey.
how I looked at it and still look at it, except when you tell me not to look at it that way, is I'm well, I'm well, I'm well. Oh my God, I'm sick. Now I'm sick. Now I'm sick. Got to go to Justin because he knows how to fix being sick.
Here's what I'd like to share with you, David. The attitude that I take is that there is a spectrum between optimal health and well-being and disease and dysfunction. And all of us are somewhere along that spectrum. And it's a matter of sort of assessing where somebody is and promoting them towards healing and optimal health and well-being. What I'm trying to do is sort of meet the person. How are they feeling? What's their subjective experience of themselves? Can I use data and analytics and biomarkers to understand that better? Is it showing me that there's concerning states of dysregulation, glucose dysregulation, or high blood pressure? And I'm trying to understand that with the client, with the person, and help move them towards wellness. 80% of the diagnoses in medicine to me are just Latin words for what they're describing. So if you have inflammation of the skin and you go and you talk to a dermatologist and say, my skin is red and it's itchy and it's raised and and they're like, well, yeah, you have atopic dermatitis. Well, dermatitis is just Latin for inflammation of the skin, and again, they're useful. You want to make sure that it's not something that we've recognized as being dangerous. And yes, they have some tools for alleviating or ameliorating those symptoms or treating it. Maybe it's a fungal infection of the skin that needs an microbial agent or an antifungal therapy to sort of restore the skin. So, we want to use health. We want to use our medical professionals, but at the same time, you can see the limitations, and the medical system is extraordinarily good at acute situations, chest pain, heart attacks, accidents, illnesses that get out of control and your system starts to destabilize. Great, we need the medical system. But the medical system from a preventative standpoint or from a promotion of health and well-being, which, by the way, I think is the best way to prevent disease, is to promote health and well-being. We're not designed as a system to meet those needs as well.
I assume that most of the viewers watching this have something wrong, because most of us do. And that's what people search on YouTube, and we're watching this on YouTube. Let's take diabetes.
Yes.
I got it or I don't got it. I've been on the border of it for 15 years. Now I have it. I come to you. Don't you do what everybody else does? And if you don't, what is driving you towards a different perspective towards diabetes? Where is that coming from? Give me a sense of how you look at this particular illness.
If I were to look at somebody with glucose dysregulation or diabetes, I view this both from like a Western medical perspective of, okay, what is the degree of the glucose dysregulation, and what are our markers that we can look at to sort of assess how imbalanced the metabolism of this individual person is. And we'll look at a hemoglobin A1C, and we'll look at fasting blood sugar levels, and we'll look at fasting insulin levels, and we'll look if there's glucose spilling out into the urine, which shouldn't be there. And then I have sort of from my own upbringing that sort of also led me to explore Eastern philosophies. I studied yoga quite a bit during medical school, and I saw how they viewed sort of chakras, these energy areas that they sort of have labeled along the spine, up the body. And the third chakra corresponds to sort of the solar plexus at the top of the abdominal or at the above the belly button, say, which actually happens to correlate to sort of the pancreas, the main metabolic glucose regulator of the body. And when you see the relational ways that people look at that chakra, it's about will and control. And I've seen some beautiful correlation to how people regulate their will and control center as to how it translates into glucose metabolism. Most people will get locked up into sort of, well, you're over consuming either sugar directly or over consuming resources, and you're not exercising and doing enough. I actually think that there's more essential problems of how somebody relates to themselves and relates to the outer world around them that would lead them to sort of intense feelings of either worry or frustration with themselves or the world, that then exhausts and depletes them, and their body is wanting to get extra resources and not feeling like it wants to expend resources because it doesn't feel safe and in control.
I've heard you describe that you actually almost feel you can tell a diabetic type of person, and also you have seen changes in these numbers and this suffering the person has based on the way you see it. So rather than the abstract, I'm asking you, have you practiced what you preach here? Have you practiced what you see? And are you seeing anything happen that's good, that's better?
Yes, certainly. I've worked with clients who have improved their glucose metabolism or their diabetes and have reduced this dysregulation through working on their relationship to themselves and their lives. And these are anecdotal stories. I've also worked with people that have had the glucose dysregulation that did not get better or were in denial and did. And I'm not trying to blame them. And by all means, I'm a student of life, and I believe that I'll be a student of life for the foreseeable future until I pass. So I haven't figured this all out, but I have a strong sense of it, and I've seen folks improve. I've been able to take people off of some of their diabetic medications and have seen their hemoglobin A1C numbers decrease by helping them change their relationship to themselves and therefore how they relate to their wife and their life and their career.
To me, you're a very unusual doctor because the doctor in my life was God. That's how I experienced the doctor. So frightening. The doctor was going to tell me good, bad, not a person. By revealing your own self where you're struggling, you become a person to me. And then you ask me to look at myself.
I really pay attention to the emotions, and I've really learned to trust my intuition. And I could tap into this, as far back as in medical training in an emergency room. I can look at a client and I intuitively will know to worry more or less about them. And there's a sense that that I was able to tap into. And so oftentimes, like when I meet new clients, within, maybe 3 to 5 minutes of meeting them, I have a good sense of sort of like, how concerning this, how significant of a situation of pain and suffering, whether that's physical, psychological, emotional, that somebody is in, and sort of how open and ready they are towards healing and transformation. And say early in my career, based upon even my own insecurity of like, here, I'm a physician and I need to have the solutions and answers. I used to just ask questions with the idea of like, I'm looking for keywords or process until I can be like, this is what it is. And this is what we're going to do. And I know it, and I'm going to help you versus, I'm a lot more honest and with people and be like, hey, you know what? I'm not sure that I can help you. I'm going to try and I'm going to show up, and I trust and believe in my skill set. But this is a process that is they are the CEO of their own process.
You are my doctor. You have helped me enormously deal with my own insecurities and anxieties. As much as my medical issues, it's my insecurities and anxieties. It's the worry about the future, about tomorrow, about what this means that damages my daily life. And that's why I'm doing this with you. I hope to do more. And I hope that people who see this react and give you and me a sense of what they're dealing with and what they think and how they feel.
Your comments about yourself, I absolutely agree with you. And one of the things I would add to me of my perspective of you that's really endearing is that in spite of the insecurity and the worry, you have this zest for life and for meaning and this eye for purpose and this real interest and curiosity of being part of it and bringing forth these like beautiful gems that people often don't see or may not notice. And that purpose and that drive for you is sort of this vital force that you have that enables you to be sort of this young 70s guy that's fun and full of energy and fun to be with and play in the sandbox with. And so thank you. And I appreciate your presence in my life and our relationship, because it's those types of rich and meaningful relationships that really we want to show up for each other, and we want to do our best, and we want to bring forth the best in each other. And so it's easy to play with you.
Now, look, we're almost done. I just want to say one thing to you. Do you promise, as my doctor, that I'm going to live to 92 healthy? I'd like to live to 92 healthy. Justin, I'd like you to guarantee that. And maybe to 100 not so healthy, but still being taken care of by you. Can you make that sort of guarantee to me so I can end this interview feeling good about myself and you?
Okay. Well, as far as, guarantees, there are no guarantees in life. And that's part of, I think that's part of the wonder of life. What I've, shared with you and promised you is that, if you are sensitive and attuned to your body and willing to engage in it and to really cultivate your best health and vitality right now, that is that's your best strategy going forward, in my opinion. Is be healthy now, and if there are parts that don't work well, or if your energy's off, or your digestion's off, or sleep, all of these things that it may not be a disease, but it's a notice. It's a notice from your system of, hey, it's not operating in a really healthy way. That we need to be attentive to. We need to pay attention to. We need to bring love and awareness, and that is your best long-term strategy. And if you live to 92, wonderful. If you wonderfully live to 91 in 9 months and we don't get you, well, what can we do? No.
Thank you, Justin.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been great.